Welcome back to my channel. I trust you are all doing good. Please, if this is your first time of accessing this channel, kindly hit on the subscription button to join the family. Today, we are going to discuss something about system analysis, and your instructor is felixsiawyeboah. However, we have started this, classes for the past, let me say, weeks. So, if you have missed some of the lectures, in order for you to follow suit appropriately, I would advise you try to go and scan through all the videos that I've uploaded previously. So in this presentation, I'll start by the outline of the presentation, what we're going to talk about. First place, I'll try to let us understand system analysis from the social point of view. Then we will understand system analysis from the computer science point of view too. Then we'll we'll walk through system analysis activities and system analysis organizations. Then we'll try to learn something about the popular SDLC. In the previous video, I did mention the SDLC, software development lifecycle, and I spoke at length about it. So in this video, we are going to expatiate the SDLC models. Then we choose a case study for the rest of the tutorials. So we now pick a case study in this presentation. And in the subsequent tutorials, we are going to do all our presentations and our tutorial and our lectures based on the case study. Then today, first assignment will be issued out. Okay, so these are the outlines of today's presentation. Okay, so let's get started. So what is system analysis? So as usual, we have two terms in here, two keywords in here. We have system and we have analysis. So let's go through what a system is. Then we go to what analysis is. Then we try to do a merge and see how we can create our own definition out of system analysis from the social perspective, from the social life point of view. Okay. So we have here as a system is an adaptive lifestyle. Hmm? An adaptive lifestyle or way of life of an individual or a group of people over a period of time. Okay. So what it means is, adoption is, adjusting to or transformation or, that is some of the synonyms. So let's say um, you have a way of doing your things. As soon as you wake up, you check your WhatsApp, your phone, you check your WhatsApp and social media to see any messages for you or any missed calls or anything before you step out to go and do your things. That is your lifestyle. Okay, that's how you do your things. That is your system. When you go to any organizations, they have their system. When you go there, you have to meet the receptionist, and the receptionist, you talk to the receptionist will direct you to the office that you want to go, and like you follow the protocol. That is a system in an organization. When you are preparing food, you have your style of preparing your food. That is your system. Okay. And so system, our way of life is a system. It's our system. Do you get it? So what is analysis? So analysis is a detailed examination of the element or structure of something. So if you sit down to examine details of something, okay. So let's say if I say I want to study your system, okay, study how you do your things, your way of life. I'm studying it. They get it. It's a way of examining into details how you do your things, how you live, your lifestyle. So that is analysis. All right. So then, what is system analysis in our social point of view? So we have it to be system analysis is the process of critically examining, observing, and thinking through the adaptive lifestyle of an individual or a group of people. Do you get it? So the two, we have these key terms. We have critically examining. So it's not just examining. You are critically examining. You come up with some critiques from your observations. Good. So when you are examining something, definitely you try to observe and think through. You have to think, put thought to it. Do you get it? Try to think and understand what you are examining or observing. Do you get it? Uh, thinking through the adaptive lifestyle of an individual or a group of people. So that is the definition of system analysis from our normal point, like a social life point of view. Sorry. Good. So now let's see what system analysis is from the computer science point of view. So a school of thought says system analysis is a process of collecting and interpreting facts, identifying the problems, and decomposition of a system into its components. That is one. Two, that is another from another school of thought. It says system analysis is the application of computer science and critical thinking to help businesses and their computer systems run more efficiently. So joining the two, we form our own definition by combining the two and selecting the key points from the two school of thought. So we have this as system analysis is the application of critical thinking in identifying problems, gathering data, and interpreting facts to help businesses and their computer systems to run effectively and efficiently. So, getting the understanding from this definition, as a system analyst, your duties are to critically think through something. So there is a case study presented to you. You just have to just you don't have to just um you know take the case study as it is, as lightly as it is. No, but you just have to critically think through it. You get it. Whilst you are thinking through it, you end up identifying the problems in a case study presented. Then afterwards, you gather some data from the case study, the problem that you have identified. Then you try to interpret the facts from the data that has been presented to you. Okay, then at the end of the day, your results is going to help the business, the business systems to, be executed more efficiently. So that is what this definition seeks to mean. Okay. So let's go on. So system analysis activities. So whilst critically thinking through these case studies, there are some things that some key things that runs through, and some of them are communication. So when a case study is presented to you, okay, for you to in order for you to get the understanding very well, you need to engage. You need to start communicating to or talking to the stakeholders involved. You know, so if there's a case study for you to develop a management system for a shop, you have to go to the people who are going to use the system. You have to go to them and engage them in some kind of communication, kind of talks for you to, understand their way of, doing things over there. Do you get it? So you need to start with the communication, and through the communication, you gather data. You end up getting to know how they do their things, and you just jot some things down. You get it? Then after gathering the data, you now process them. You now process them in your own way using whatever tool at your disposal. You process them. Then after processing, then you compare them. So let's say at the end of the day, you came out with these results. Then you try to compare them with existing ones uh, or your new one, the new one that you want to bring on board. Then you see its limitations here and there. You get it. So these are the activities that goes through in the system analysis process. You communicate, you gather data, you process the data, and you compare the data. Now let's see the system analysis organizations. The first point is understanding the current system. So, um, using the what do you call it, the shop management system case study. Okay, so you have been presented with a shop management system case study. That is for you are supposed to develop some management system for a shop. What will be some of the things that you consider? Do you get it? In the activities that you are going to, operate on. The first point is you have to understand the current system. If they have a system already that they are using, or they don't even have a system they are using, you have to understand this their way of their culture over there. Do you get it? So you need to understand their current lifestyle, the current system that they are using. Then you analyze the current system's limitations. So if they are doing manual way of keeping records, you analyze or you examine the limitations of it. If they are using as an existing system, existing software that they are using, you also analyze the current system limitations. You try to work on that, examine that one too. Then you identify the current system's related problems. Do you get it? So you understand the system, that will give upper hand to analyze the limitations of the system. Then you identify the related problems, okay, of the system, the culture that is going on, the current system that they are running in the shop. Okay. Then the next point is you identify the impact of the current system on the organization and the end users. So with the current system that they are running in the shop, it's your duty for you to identify the impact of that system on the organization. So if they are running a manual system, what is the impact? What is the impact? Get it? What is the impact of the current system on the organization and the people who are using the system in the organization? So if it's a manual system, how is the manual system, going on well with the users or the staff in the organization? So it's your duty to identify the impact of the current system on the organization and the end users. That is what that point tries to see. The next point is you define the scope of the new system. So the system that you want to introduce or the system that you have been contracted to introduce, you have to now define your scope, knowing the current system, analyzing the limitations, identifying related problems, and getting to know the impact of the current system on the organization. Now, you should be ready to, deploy your own or start your own. And starting your own, you need to define the scope. Which areas are you going to work? What are you going to add? What are you going to change? And how long are you going to use to develop that system for the organization? So you need to define all of them. Then you choose a preferred SDLC model. You choose a preferred, software development lifecycle model that you want to use. In the next slide, you are going to go through some of the popular SDLCs. So you choose this one. You choose a preferred SDLC model that you want to use for your project in developing the new system. Okay. If you have any question, kindly drop it into the comment box. I'll respond to it accordingly. Now let's go through some of the popular SDLC models that we have. So we have the waterfall model, we have the iterative model, we have the incremental model, the spiral model, the V model, an agile model, the Big Bang model, and we have the RAD model. But for the purposes of our tutorial and for our lessons, we'll be going through the waterfall model, the iterative model, and the agile model. So let's kickstart. So for the waterfall model, I would like us to assess these two videos. The waterfall model. The name is waterfall. So just consider how the water is falling here. From the top, it comes down, it hits, and it bounces back. So if you consider this area, you see it is very whitish and rough, but this area is kind of calm. And so this area expatiates to this form. So the nature of waterfall is when the water drops to the ground, it bounces back before it settles down. And that is what is happening here. When it hits the ground, it bounces back one before it settles down. But it doesn't bounce back to the top here. You get it? So that is the nature of waterfall model. So going forward, we will see how the flow of waterfall model works based on this architecture. Water drops from the top, it hits, it bounces back one, but doesn't go to the first. That is the nature of waterfall model. So let's proceed. So when we see the waterfall model, you see it has been organized in a stepwise order. So from system analysis down to maintenance. And it's done in such a way that this water drops from here, it hits this stage and it bounces back. When everything is done here, it hits this one, move from here and hits this one. When you have any issue, it bounces back, but it does not bounce back to the first stage. That is the nature of waterfall model. So in here, we have the system analysis, we have the system design, we have the implementation, the testing, deployment, and maintenance. So what happens is when I start from system analysis and I get to system design, system analysis is where we are right now. So after doing everything here, when we pass it to the system analyst or the project manager, and he agrees to whatever we have done here, we endorse it, sign off, and we move to the next step. When we get to this step, system design, and realize that the report from the system analysis is not valid, they have some lapses in there. We go back to this immediate step to make the changes and come and return back to the system design. When we are done with the system design and everything is okay with the system design, we move to implement the system. Once again, if we get to the system implementation and we have some issues with the design, we move back. However, if we get to this place and realize the system analysis, we have some issues with the system analysis, we cannot jump this one and go here. It doesn't work well that way with waterfall model. So the only reverse that you can go is reverse to the immediate model. Do you get immediate step, but not the immediate step? So that is how the flow is. However, waterfall model is used on projects that are well understood. Do you get it? Projects that are well defined. So if you meet a client and the client comes with his or her documented issue, this is how I want the project to be. He has explained the project to you to the bottom level. Do you get it? So you have well gripped on it. That when you pick your tools up, you can just develop the system from the onset. Good. So that is where we use waterfall model. Waterfall model is mostly used when the problem or the project is well understood by the team members. Good. So that is it for the waterfall model. Then we come to the iterative model. So the iterative and the incremental model, they looks very similar. Yeah, it looks very similar, but their functionalities differ. So I'll walk us through that one. So for the iterative model, we have the system in this way. So the requirement is gathered. Then we initiate the first build. We have the second build and the third build. What happens? For the iterative model, this model is used when the definition of the issue or the problem or the project is not well understood by the developing team or the team members. You get it? So this is what happens. They get to know, they get a brief understanding of the issue and develop the system from one side. You get it? They develop a system at once. Then going forward, they tackle the weaknesses and redefine, they refine the weaknesses. So this first build will come up with a working system. Then they will identify the weaknesses in this first build. Then now try to correct them. The second build will be corrected. That one too will be defined. Another issue will be defined in the weakness will be defined. Then to be built. So each build here comes with a working system. Do you get it? That is how the iterative model works. So then in the iterative, clients will come to you. Oh, I want you to develop something for my washing bay. Do you get it? Just to get my funds mobilized. So they want some funds mobilization for my washing bay. That's all. He goes. Do you get it? So now it's left for you to put something up. So what happens is you pick this model. Do you get? Then you develop the whole system. You present it to him. When you present it to him, then he will come up like, oh, okay, this is okay. But this one, let's do it this way. This one, let's do it that way. Then you go in the next version, or in the builds here can also be presented as version. So in the next version, you come up with the new changes that you have done to the system, and that one comes to also like that one. The outcome of that build, that version, comes up as a working model. Do you get it? Exactly same way applies to the next, and the next, and the next, and the next, and the next, till the user becomes okay with what you have delivered to the person. Good. That is the iterative model. But for the incremental model, they have the same structure. Okay. But the incremental model develops the system model by model, feature by feature. You get it? So for the incremental model, the developing team will break the issue down into, the atomic state. In earlier on we when we were defining systems analysis in the earlier on, we saw some decomposition something. So they'll bring the system down to models and start tackling them from functions, function by function by function by function. You get it? So let's say if you are developing something for a shop management system, what will you do? You are using the incremental model, but not the iterative model. So then in the incremental model, okay, you start from the inventory side first. So you develop the inventory model. That one is working. So when you deliver it, the inventory section of the company or the shop will be able to load data into the system. Then, second build, you work on the sales side. So the sales will connect to the inventory and sales can be done. That one too will be done. Then, next model, you are going to bring up the account side. So the accounts will also be able to see the sales that are taken. So you see, every model is functional. Every model is functional. So the difference between this one and the incremental and the iterative model is that in the iterative model, he will develop all the components and deliver and deploy it. And later on identify the issues and solve the issues bit by bit in different versions. But for the incremental model, for the incremental model, he will tackle the models. He'll bring the whole company into groups like boxes. So he tackled this box first, then this box, then that board. So bottom up. At the end of the day, we have a complete system. Okay, so that is the difference between the incremental and the iterative model. If you have any question, feel free to drop it into the comment box and I'll respond accordingly. Thank you for that. So let's move on to the agile. Agile model has become a very popular model that people are using these days. So what happens in agile model? The agile model combines the iterative model and the incremental model. Do you get it? So we have first iteration, second iteration, and third iteration. So in the first iteration, just as the iterative model does, run through the whole thing and deploy it. Then incremental model will also tackle the whole project bit by bit, model by model. Do you get it? So combining the two powers, agile model is mostly executed by team of people. So if you are solely working on a project, I wouldn't advise you going with agile model. I would advise you use either the iterative or the incremental model. But with that one, you are working within your own powers. Do you get it? So you know your own cycle time and you deliver. But if you merge the two here, it becomes very tedious for you a bit. So if you are two or more working on a project, it's best for you to use agile model. That is from my point of view. So that is agile model for you. So for the agile model, you implement it, then 2 or 3 months, you identify the issue and come up with a new agile. In agile, every iteration is a workable function. So you get it's a workable function. So let's say it's a workable system. Let me put it that way. It's a workable system. Good. By using both the incremental and the iterative model. That is agile model for you. So now we now come to our case study. So henceforth, we are going to rely or base our presentations on this very case study. And what the case study is attendance system. So attendance system could be a church attendance system, shop attendance system, school attendance system, any attendance system, they all follow the same logic. Attendance system, they all follow the same logic. Do you get it? It's about loading data and verifying data per date. Do you get it? That is the basic logic of attendance system. Good. So our subsequent lectures, our subsequent tutorials will be captured around attendance system. So for us to know the to test our understanding of this presentation, the system analysis, we will take the first assignment since we started the presentation. So what is the assignment? So we are saying PHP Shopping Mall has requested for an attendance system to manage their staff. As the system analyst of your company, write a report on the tasks being requested for. Your report should cover all the areas of system analysis organizations below: understanding the system, analyze the current system limitation, identify the current system's related problems, identify the impact of the current system on the organization and the end users, define the scope of the new system, and choose the preferred SDLC model. So you submit this report to my email, that is felixsiawyeboah@gmail.com, and the deadline is 19th, that is this Friday. So 19th February 2021. Okay. So I just want to know your understanding. So you can go to any area, any shop or any church or any area that takes attendance. Just observe their system and put it in a report form based on this presentation that I've given out today. Okay, so thank you for joining us up to this point. Once again, if you have any questions to this presentation, kindly drop it in the comment box and I will respond to you accordingly. Kindly have time and take part of the assignment. It will advise us in our next video that we'll be doing. Okay. Thank you once again. See you in the next video.